I'd like to introduce a few folks. If you just raise your hand, the president of the college is here with us today, Bill Houston. And we have one of the most charming, beautiful women in the state of Kentucky with us today, Tanya Berry. Tanya? And she also brought her husband with her. In addition, the owner of my company, Steve Douglas, is here with his beautiful wife and his son. We also have Leah Baynes, the head of the program.
Right.
And you'll hear from the 3 international students. So, ladies, why don't you take a seat? And what I'd like to do is explain where we've been for less than 2 years. 2 years. In the spring of 2012, I got a call from Bill Houston and said, could you come down to campus? The Berries would like to come visit. And so I arrived, and Mary had already heard about St. Catharine College from Morris Grubbs, a professor at UK, and said, understand you're looking for an educational component for the lifetime work of Mr. Berry. And we thought that interesting that somebody from UK would say something about our school. And the fact that we did not have a running ag program. Mr. Berry came that spring day. It was a nice sunny spring day, and he brought Mary and he brought his son Den with him. We jumped into Bill's SUV, and we didn't want to tour the campus, we wanted to see the farm. The Dominican sisters who are here can testify. They have been sustainable farmers for a lot of years. And we have a beautiful farm right next to our campus. Mr. Berry got shotgun. Bill drove. We put Mary in the middle of Den and I. 2 pretty good sized guys. Den is a lot taller than I am, but a good sized guy. And we spent a good hour and a half. And every gate we came, Wendell got out, opened the gate for us, and we proceeded to the next field. It was like family, because that's what St. Catharine is, it's family. And I thought that the Berries were feeling that, and that we were not soliciting them, we were seeing if it might be a good fit for us, which is probably much different than most colleges, universities will how they'll present themselves, and I'll talk about that in a little bit later. At the end of the day, we came to the administration building. We're standing downstairs. Wendell stuck out his hand to Bill and said, okay. And they left. Bill looked at me and said, what does that mean? I said, that means they've chosen us. Because if you read any of Mr. Berry's work, you'll know his word is golden. So, from that spring day, less than 2 years ago, most colleges and universities would still be arguing with their faculty, staff, and the board about what sort of program this might be. In August of this past year, students were on campus. In January, the first international students arrived. So in less than probably a year and a half, we have a program. Now, how did this all come about? How did the faculty embrace this? How did the board embrace this? When Bill arrived at St. Catharine, it was a 2-year school with a little less than 200 students. We now have close to 1,000 students, and we're a 4-year school. In addition, we're issuing some master's degree programs now. Has it been an easy road? Absolutely not. If anybody knows about higher education in this country, it is a struggle, especially for the small independent schools like us. But that said, Bill carved out a medical imaging program that is like none other in the United States. There is no program in the United States that matches our students at St. Catharine, not only in the educational component, but in the leadership capabilities. Because our students work every day in hospitals, in 44 hospitals across the Commonwealth in Southern Kentucky. So they get that expertise when they go to the hospital. It's not like, I've never seen a patient, I don't know how to talk to a doctor. They're there. So we felt in the Berry Initiative that we could create that same leadership component. That those students not only would be trained, but would become leaders in their community. So, in conversation with the Berries, most colleges and universities would say, okay, we signed the deal, let us do a national search and we'll find a leader. The Berries said, oh, by the way, we have somebody that we'd like you to meet. It was Leah Baines. To give you an idea of an ag program, her PhD is in English. Does that tell you something about the direction that we're going here? This is some special program. So Leah came on board, and a young person was thrust into a leadership role. She's embraced that and been a perfect fit for us. And we're thankful for the Berries for introducing us to Leah. So I'm talking to Eleanor. We live here. We run into each other. And Eleanor has been a farmer in Oldham County for a lot of years and very attuned to the sustainable farming movement. And she said to me, I said, you know, my dream would be to do exactly what Mr. Berry said. If we build it, they'll come. If we build an excellent program, they'll come. And she said, so we started talking, and we came up with an idea of inviting some international students to come. We've got 5 or 6 in the program here starting in August, including the Berry's grandson. And we solicited around the world through our network, mostly of the sisters, in Asia, Far East, Africa, South America. And we got 67 applicants from 22 countries. A great, great outreaching. And if you read the profiles, these were kids that you'd almost cry if you read the biography of what they were doing and how they were struggling in their home countries. Eleanor put the money up for the full scholarships, and the selection process started. Now, I'm going to talk about Kohi is married to Sam Raghaswamy. Sam is a yoga instructor. He's an engineer, but he teaches yoga in this building for anybody that wants to show up 3 times a week. One morning, I've been taking yoga for Sam for about 3 years, and one morning he and I were there alone at 5:30 a.m. standing on our heads. And Sam said, so why are you, what are you doing? I said, well, you know, here's what I'm doing, and I know you've got contacts in India, you know, get me somebody. So that was it. In the selection process, 67 applicants come in from 22 separate countries. One of the applicants happened to be from somebody from India that belongs to the same ashram that Sam, Kohi, and Eleanor belong to. We didn't know. It was a blind process. So in fact, Sam's recommendation is sitting right here. And it occurred while we were standing on our heads. So as you can see, this is a very special opportunity for us. We take the charge very, very seriously. We're taking a man's life's work and trying to, and I hate this word, institutionalize the process and make it like no other program in the world. And we think we're well on the road to succeeding. And the reason I tell you the story is I want you to be ambassadors. I want you to know that in less than 2 years, here's where we are. So when you're out speaking, tell the story. Say, you know, I heard something really neat. There's something special going on. Because it gets back to, if you take the vision of Mr. Berry, if you had to break it down, it's all about the earth, the soil, and the care we take with that. And we cannot continue to let agribusiness influence agriculture. And we've gone so far the other direction, rack and ruin is upon us. People ask me, they say, okay, you sound real passionate about this, you know, how are you going to change agribusiness? One farmer at a time. One farmer at a time. And that's what we're trying to do. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Bill Houston and have him just say a few words.
I think Larry has summarized it extremely well. I was telling Wendell when he came in, we were talking about where we were 2 years ago, where we are now, and he said something about getting there the right way. And I said, we have gotten to where we are today, not only the last 2 years, but the last several years, through our friends. And we haven't been influenced by big business, we haven't been influenced by wrong people, we've been influenced by people that believe that we've gone in the right direction. And it doesn't seem very long ago where we were at an important juncture at St. Catharine, being a 2-year school, and we knew that we had to expand our basic curriculum and our mission to be competitive in today's higher ed market. And we decided to go from purely a liberal arts college to include the health sciences. We knew that the baby boomers were getting older, and there was a shortage in a lot of these emerging occupations. And we wanted to be out on the cutting edge. Well, you know how many people believed that we could do that? There were about 4 or 5. And we went and recruited a couple of key people to come on our board, Mike Russ being one of them, that helped this transition. So when people come up to me and say, how many people do you have enrolled in the Berry Ag program? You know, when Leah started with her first cohort, and I said, more than we had when we first started into the health sciences. and today, we have about 225 to 250 every day out in clinical rotations in these hospitals across Kentucky and southern Indiana. So small numbers only provide a challenge for me, and I think they provide a challenge for those people that are associated with the college. We've never done anything that's been easy. David Hayden is here. David chairs the Building and Grounds Committee on our board, and David has been responsible for the growth the last 6 years around our campus. And if you haven't been by lately, drive by and take a look at it. But he too was a believer when he got involved. So we do totally reliant on friends of St. Catharine. And we started with no endowment, a large endowment of past graduates and friends. But we are who we are today because of people getting on board and believing in our mission and our graduates and our students. And I could not be happier with our special guests today. I was flat in my bed during their mission coming over here, and Leah kept me up to date on emails day and night of the extremely difficult travel barriers that you all had to undertake to get to sunny South Kentucky. But I want to thank Larry for his tenaciousness, Eleanor and her involvement with the International Scholarship Program, because 10 years from now you're going to look back and you're going to see 200 to 300 to 400 majors in this. And this will be one of the major legs of our college. Just like health science is a major leg, and just like athletics was a major, we had to rely on athletics to get started on this, to get kids to come to our school. So we feel like we've made a lot of good decisions, and as we continue to grow to become a college of excellence, it will only improve in the future. So thank you, Larry. And you know, when my board members give reports at our board meetings, they're supposed to keep it to about 5 to 7 minutes. And Larry's is never less than 30 minutes. And I see a few eyes roll around, you know, and every so often a trustee will say, well, how many students are in it? You know, and we know that we're believers. And it will just be a matter of time when you look in that rearview mirror, and we wouldn't be able to get all of our current students in the Berry program, even in this room. So thank you very much.
You know, a true leader allows people to do their best. I don't know, as a trustee, any other trustee that has access to make decisions for the school, the college, the students, that Bill has allowed me to have access to. And you know, we're small, we're understaffed, and I've been very fortunate to be given that opportunity, and that's commendable on his leadership level. So, you know, like Bill said, we truly believe that we're doing the right thing. Sean, would you like to come on up? This is the mayor's representative, and if you'd just like to say a few things. He handles globalization, and
That's it.
that's it.
More than 90. Well, honestly, my name is Suhas Kulkarni. I'm from India originally. I did not come as a student. But I've had all the benefits of having moved here to this country and enjoyed everything that this country has had to offer. Been here 27 years, all 27 years in Louisville, Kentucky. Sunny Louisville, Kentucky. I wonder who's going to agree with you today. However, when there was an email from Larry to the mayor's office and then they passed it on to me, I was wondering why in the world and whether at all I could make it, because I had some other engagements to go to. But having heard Larry, having heard Mr. Houston and everything else, and I know friends, Eleanor, Kathleen, Koi, of course, you know, these are all friends over here. And so now I get the connection. The connection is that this is an institution that wants to take its place in the world in Kentucky, which Kentucky badly needs. And so whatever you're going to do for Kentucky to be an international, I'm sorry, Roger also, I forgot, another friend who is here. And whatever we can do to get Kentucky to be, certainly I'm concerned about Louisville and Jefferson County, so my focus would be in Louisville, Jefferson County, to be as close to the eclectic characteristics of Boston or, you know, areas like that, or California, which we can never match the weather, but still. But if we can attract people, that makes our life so much richer. It's not so much about what we give to others when we launch programs, but what we gain from others from those programs. My entire life in Louisville, Kentucky, in the last 3 years as Director for Globalization, has been focused on how international our city is and how more international it can become. And every little thing that we can do to make it more international continuously reinforces to me how richer the population becomes. So I came here as an immigrant. Did not come as a student. Sometimes when you come as a student, you have an easier life. As an immigrant, I came here, I couldn't find a job, so I did the next best thing, started a grocery store, which my wife and I ran. I had other skills, so started an export business. I had more skills, I started an IT business. All of those businesses took off, became fairly successful, got bored with doing business, and then the mayor approached me, and you know, we were talking, we've been good friends for many, many years, and he said, you know, we need to become an international city. So I volunteered my time. Well, volunteering my time didn't really cut it, because one day became 2, became 3, then 3, 4 months, it became like a full-time profession. And then we decided that we need to make this more of a continuous activity so that we can sustain whatever is developed. So having come in here as an immigrant, I have had the fantastic fortune of seeing the entire spectrum of America. When we ran a grocery store, we had people who had next to nothing, David, who had next to nothing and lived not even from paycheck to paycheck, but from credit worthiness to credit worthiness. So the threshold was not how much money they got, but how much credit they can rack up at different places, and you don't exceed that. People in all walks of life, construction workers, out of work people. That was one end of the economic spectrum. The other end of the economic spectrum were, good friends of mine who were professionals, doctors, and various other, and they had huge homes. When we first came to this city in 1986, and we went to some of our friends' homes for our festivals, we were amazed. Everything was available, or everything was being cooked, and it was a good life everyone was leading, and here we were dealing with, so to speak, the lower ends of the economic spectrum. But I have to tell you, having observed that, people are people. The people who had next to nothing in economic characteristics were very warm-hearted. My wife and I had no idea of how to be grocers. I didn't know how to serve meat or cut meat. We're vegetarians, but other than that, she, a diminutive, trying very hard to be 5 foot tall, couldn't reach to get the cigarettes, and she didn't know where the cigarettes were. But who helped us? The customers came, and then they protected us in a neighborhood that was not very friendly, not very safe, so to speak. They were the ones who looked out for us, right? So the first thing that I observed in Louisville, Kentucky, was that people who lived here looked out for you. So people look out for people. Whatever color you are, whatever country, whatever language. There is, at that point in time, I did not notice that they differentiated between them and us. And that really helped us in our lives. Throughout my career, I have talked and met and worked with lots of people. The spectrum of folks that I have worked with is just fantastic. And I have to thank the Almighty for the richness of the experiences that He has given me. And I find that life does not exist in, little buckets, but we get into those buckets. Life says everything is the same. We are all the same. But we, for ourselves, carve out, because of our identity with that bucket, we say, this is my bucket, this is my bucket, this is my bucket. And we try to protect our buckets. And I feel that it becomes imperative for educational institutions, and I have been to all the educational institutions in Louisville, Kentucky. So U of L, Bellarmine College, Sullivan College. There's a new one that I've started, I forget their name. Anyway, Webster EDU, and Campbellsville University, and there are many others who have come. Now, these days, one, they are interested, and second is I'm always advocating to them, reach out into the world. One, because whenever you bring students across, those students tend to enrich our life initially, but may be able to add talent. And most of our postdocs in the large universities are immigrants. And they go out to NIH and get money, and that's why all these posters come up. When you cross Muhammad Ali and Preston Street, you'll see U of L posters, and a lot of them are postdocs from other parts of the world who have come here as postdocs and do research and get NIH money. So we gain from that. Immigrants start all kinds of businesses, so students are most likely, when they stay here, to start businesses. And when they start businesses, they create wealth for themselves, they create wealth for our economy, they create more jobs, everybody gains. And the other part of it is, folks who come from outside the world are the natural conduit for us into their world, which is something that we don't always take full advantage of. And I would recommend, or I would suggest to everybody to take the first opportunity to befriend an international student, because that becomes the conduit into their world. And that conduit is not just the geographical world, it's the cultural world, it's the religious world, it's the spiritual world, everything that we all really want to imbibe in ourselves. So why not reach out, why not embrace everybody who comes from somewhere else and let them be our guide into another world, another experience that we will all cherish. Thank you so much.
I'd be remiss if I didn't introduce our wait staff here today. Stephanie Miller and Michael Stewart. As I advised you before, the program is extremely unique. Leah Baines came to us from the University of Kentucky. To my knowledge, she's the only person in the country that has an English degree that's running an ag program. And again, that should tell you where we're coming from. Leah, would you come on up and...
Sure. Well, thank you so much for being here today. I'm so very, very grateful to see so many friends and kind people who are in this room, not for me, but for what we are about here and for welcoming our students. And I also want to mention that we have here in our midst a really, really phenomenal student who was the first student in the berry farming program, and that's Winifred Chevron, who's right here up front. She has been my right-hand person and actually my my co-pilot on the way out to the Land Institute, where she sat up and talked to me for 13 hours, 14 hours. We're bosom buddies now. And not only that, but then she took on, without me asking, she just knew what to do. She took on the great, great role of welcoming our 3 international students and has driven them places. I told them as soon as they got here, make friends with someone who has a car. And fortunately, they've been able to do that, not specifically seeking people out for that criteria, but you know, it's really, it has already been such an enriching experience to have these students in my life and at our school, and they are making a huge impact in kind of into the greater character of our school, but also it's more on the kind of the individual class level. A good friend of mine in the philosophy and religion department, Matt Brandstetter, is teaching a class on homelessness and issues of faith. And as it turns out, I put all 3 of our new students into the exact same classes this semester because it was easier for me. And because then they would have a built-in study group, they'd have this cohort. And after faculty government a couple of weeks ago, Matt stayed aside. I mean, I was having a couple of side conversations, and he stayed aside. And he said, he was just about to jump out of his skin. He was so excited. He said, I have to tell you, we had the exact kind of conversation everybody wants to have in their classes, and I didn't lead it. These guys did. It was thrilling to see how excited he was, but it was really even more thrilling to see that this is part of the rationale, I think, that Eleanor used as a kind of guiding principle for, why do we invite people into this rural school in Kentucky to be a part of a program that is really focused on agriculture in very specific locations. One of those specific locations happens to be Kentucky. We founded this program on this idea of transferable skills and transferable knowledge. We founded this program on the idea that we are teaching students how to learn as much as we're teaching them, philosophies and principles, and giving them practical experiences, and giving them the opportunity for practical experiences. We're inviting people into this conversation from places that are in really dire need of taking these kinds of values, the kind of ethic, back into their home country and making a major impact. They are already leaders. I already know you're I have read their stories. The application process, as Larry mentioned, it was not, you might have cried, you did cry. There are people who are in circumstances that are really beyond, I think, the comprehension that we have, that we're capable of having and kind of imagining. But the issue isn't just a kind of a sob story. The issue is that there's a real need globally for us to have conversations about and to put our best and most creative people who have the deepest convictions about things like social justice, environmental justice, into leadership positions in these countries, and certainly in our own country, certainly in our own state. And I'm really pleased that we have a partnership with Eleanor, and that she does bring a vision to this project that is something that was part of our longer-term vision, but that you made it happen sooner rather than later. Thank you for that. Thank you, because these students and this experience, and now I have a new friend too, which is even better, a more tenacious woman I don't think you'll meet, as she even scavenged through the piles of luggage at the beginning of January to retrieve, I think it was CA's luggage. So he's outfitted in part because of Eleanor's tenaciousness.
Those piles of luggage go unattended if you want to turn in a life of crime. You can just walk into the airport and take them out.
So I can go on and on. I'll be happy to as we have an opportunity to chat afterwards. But just thank you so much for coming today and for being a part of this moment that I think is just a real kind of collective. It's a moment of collective vision. And it's a moment that we can really celebrate that something special is happening.
The first couple of weeks, the international students came. We had some of the most delightful weather we've had in recent history. And as you can see, they came from similar climates, I'm sure. And we're quite a bit overwhelmed. The first full weekend, we got a call and wanted to have them come up to Louisville. And I called Sam and said, Sam, could you help us? And he and Coey did. And Eleanor and I hosted. They got here a little after 8:30 a.m. and I dropped them off at 10:30 p.m. at their dormitory. We had a full day here. I learned something new about Louisville. We went to the movies. And we went to Stony Brook. And I did not know that Stony Brook has several Bollywood films running all the time. And there was a big Indian population. So the Indian lady went to the Bollywood films, and so I asked the two gentlemen, I said, so, what do you want to see? Jennifer Lawrence. And they did not know she was from Louisville. And so we saw, the three guys we saw catching fire. But in between, we went over to a special friend, Ray Henry, who produces religious texts all over the world. And we had tea at her house in the morning, and she was able to, Eleanor purchased a number of religious texts for them to see, and Gray has an international presence and has been a special friend to Eleanor all her life. And if you met Gray, she's your friend. And then we came back, and I took the two guys with me, and we went out to the CSA farmers that they're going to work this summer and introduce them. It was a fairly blustery day, and they both had like sweatshirts on. But they, as you can see, they have the biggest smile. So we had a great day, and what you're going to find is that the vetting process served us very well. And so without further ado, I'd like to start introducing, and would the two beautiful Raghaswamy women come up front.
Satya Govindasamy of Coimbatore, India. She studied agriculture and environmental education as her secondary school vocational subjects. She grew up volunteering alongside her father in the project Green Hand Nursery, which supplies trees for an agroforestry initiative in southern India. She will apply in education, agroecology, and community leadership in the Isha Agro Movement, a small-scale agricultural educational unit that trains farmers and field officers in agroforestry with organic farming techniques.
I'm not a great speaker. Yeah, that was mostly it. So each of the Project Green Ants, we do a lot of green things. My dad, he's different. He was a petrochemist, but he likes organic agriculture. So about 3 years ago, we broke a Guinness World Record of planting the most number of trees. But we planted it in the concept of soil erosion, helping the soil develop its nutrients. And it wasn't a full productive project. I mean, there was loss, there was a heavy loss. So looking at the statistics, and we looked at it, and they said that no, just planting trees won't help. Like, this was like when India got independence. 90% of us, 90% of the population were farmers. Now we're just engineers and doctors. There's probably 60 or 50% of us being farmers. So we really need to get into the soil. And about 3 years to 6 years ahead, we'll be, most probably, 6 years. So we'll be cracking another World Guinness record of having the maximum yield from organic agriculture. So this means not a drop of chemicals, just pure nature, just pure soil. So like my dad, all the other technicians were all petrochemists. All they knew is if a plant is wilting or sick, you have to dump ammonia, you have to dump sulfur. So to change the idea, and here I am studying, I'll go back, I'll shout, I'll scream, and they better listen to me.
Ellen and I were charged with the task of picking up one of the gentlemen, and this guy came strolling off again in a sweatshirt. He was by us, and they had described Eleanor as a...
I don't even remember, some old white woman.
Yeah. And I didn't even get a description, so we're whispering, is it? So he's back by us, and I said, St. Catharine. And it's a big smile.
Come on, Mr. Hill, come on. Yeah, the big smile is really something, isn't it? All right, this is Lusekelo Nkuhi, and he is from Singida, Tanzania. So he speaks Swahili, he speaks perfect English, and he speaks Spanish. God bless him. So his native town is a rural area where his parents, both teachers, farmed as a means for providing the family with their schooling, health care, clothes, and transportation. As a student in the Pan-African High School African Leadership Academy, he served as one of a team of 12 young people in the Grow Green Itsitutsang, you say it. You say it. There you go. Organization, which establishes gardens in underprivileged communities and teaches area residents how to generate income and become self-sustaining through food production. So he has a background in what we're talking about, okay? Lusekelo came to St. Catharine College from Costa Rica, where some of you may be familiar with the really well-known Earth University, which he attended as an agronomy engineering major. He's eager to learn how the United States and its rural communities are improving sustainable agriculture and production and infrastructures, which he will employ. This is the plan at this point. This was what he will go back to his Tanzanian home and implement these ideas via outreach in the form of educational organizations and workshops.
Good afternoon to all of you. So as introduced, my name is Lusekelo James Brown, and I come from, we have 6 of us in my family, my father and my mother, and I have 1 brother and 2 sisters, 2 young sisters. And yes, both of my parents are teachers. They actually taught at the school where I attended, which is interesting.
Horrors.
And pretty much all of my life, since when I was born, I spent my life in rural communities till when I was 14 or 15, when I went to my secondary school. Farming has been my thing since when I was young, because you can't just be a teacher and expect to pay for everything for your family. So that was our main economic activities that we have been doing since when young. So for me, going to the farm, doing everything, that's what I was born for, I think so. But not only that, but also growing in rural communities, I've had a lot of friends. And being in a rural community also, you are out of a lot of opportunities, because people do not have expectation to people who live in rural communities. They expect you to go to school from standard 1 to standard 7, and that's it. Just know how to write and know how to count, and that's education for you. You live in town and expected to finish primary school, go to secondary, university, get a job. That was for you, but for people like us, that wasn't for us. But as they have put it very clear, a lot of people apply for this opportunity. I don't know if I'm lucky or what, but I believe that there's a reason why everything is happening to me this way. Because I know a lot of my friends who have gone to primary school with, right now they have families, and they're in their early 20s, and they should be at school. So I believe that I'm the one here for a reason, because of so many people that I left back home. I should be able also to open the opportunities for them. And when I look back in Africa, I'm not expecting us to have this big industry, technology to go to the moon that will boost the economy of Africa. The only thing I see we have is land, and we have massive land. We have very fertile land, which we're losing day by day. So, what I want to go to school. I want education. As Nelson Mandela, or most of you know, he said, education is the most powerful thing that can be used to change the world. And that's the thing that I've been looking for since when I started school. I want to go back and open as many doors to people. Since when I was 12, I think my parents would not have been able to pay for my school fees, but someone else was always there. Someone else has always done something to me. And I think that has developed my passion to do the same thing to others. And that's what I want to do. I want to get this education. If I would have been an engineer, I would have been a doctor, which we need in my country. But when I look at the people I left back home, if I can tell them the right way to farm, if I can tell them the right place to sell their products, I believe that's the right way to change their lives. Because they have to take their kids to school. You cannot take your kid to school if you don't have money. And you cannot have money if you cannot cultivate. It's a thing. Because what we have the land, that's what we have. We have the cattle, we have animals, that's what we have. So if only we can empower them enough to make sure that they're able to do, not just to make money, but to use the land and the animal and the natural resources in the right way, so that not just them, but also for the future generation will be able to sustain themselves. That's what I want to do. And thank you so much for everyone. Thank you for all of you for being here. Thank you for the providing. It has been an amazing. For Winnie, they are all doing small, big things that makes our everyday life easier. It's not easy to be far from home, but we really are at home. And thank you for Larry for the Hunger Games. It was good. Thank you so much, and I hope to see you all again. Thank you.
When we were here the weekend, unfortunately, when Elisa Kano's uncle had died. And so one of our tasks, he had gotten a refund from his ticket. And he wanted to go to wire the money back to his family to help pay for his uncle's funeral. As you can see already from the two that we've introduced, we're very, very proud of the choices that we made. Now, Leah's going to introduce the final gentleman, who has one of the biggest smiles you'll see from anybody anywhere on the planet.
I'm so pleased to introduce to you today C.A. Tioye, and C.A. hails from Burkina Faso. Burkina Faso is close to Ivory Coast and Ghana. Those are the two countries that I think most people are most familiar with. But I can't remember if it was Sister Diane, Sister Elaine, or Sister Angie who said it's a small country that packs a big punch. So we're finding that to be true with CA. I picked CA up from the airport. He's the one who had the most circuitous trip planned, the most circuitous itinerary, and he's the only one who made it here right on time. And I had been worried all day. I didn't know where Saki was. She was either in Chicago or she was in New Jersey. I've been worried all day. I can't find her. And at midnight, I'm at the Standiford Field. I'm at the Louisville Airport. I see, I did the same thing, as Larry and Eleanor described. I knew him instantly. We locked eyes and we ran into each other. I've never been more relieved. I said, well, I've got one. Got one of them. I have been really taken with CA's personal story since I first read it, and since our selection committee first read over his testimony. And I'd like to thank Teacher Chukuni, who is in the back there, who helped with that selection process, and he knows that this really was a kind of a testimony that you provided in your application materials. So CA hails from a small village that is pronounced Bombara, and it's in southern Burkina Faso, where he lived with a combination of adopted families, he worked with the father of his adopted family in the fields, and this is one of the ways that they were able to provide basic necessities for the family. And in spite of pretty extreme deprivation, there was always somebody who stepped in, who recognized his potential, who recognized his intelligence, and helped provide a way for him to be educated. So I think that the fact that he was awarded a scholarship to the International School of Ouagadougou, which is just a really incredible school that provides an American-style curriculum for students, and there's an understanding that these students will transfer into American colleges, and certainly with our goal is that he will come to the American college and then go back to his home community. And I know from conversations with him that he has a real conviction for doing that. It's a conviction that he developed when he was in this school, right? And a couple of things I just want to say is that, it was while he was at this international school that he really started piecing together some of the issues that were really most challenging in his country, and where he also put that together with his experiences growing up on farms. So this is a real merger. This is exactly what we're talking about in the Berry Farming Program, is merging the academic and the experiential aspects, and really using some creativity to help transform communities and transform economic systems. So without any further ado, I'll let CA tell you about his vision.
I really don't know where to start, but yeah, I'll say that it was during these moments that I experienced meeting other people and knowing that there are always people out there who are willing to help with any issue. And I came a long way, and I know there's a longer way to go. So the travels I saw in my country today, I used to think of them as being separate incidents and problems that emerge here and there. But after coming here for 1 month already, I've seen how all these problems are connected. So one of my tasks for the 3 years to come will be to see how we can actually bring in a system that takes into account all the social, economic, and cultural problems, and see how those can work in rural villages like mine, where there's less than 1,000 people, but just shared in about 20 families. So there's a really big challenge where I come from, but I think the agriculture, the type of agriculture we have there, I won't call it sustainable, not necessarily, but we don't use chemicals as much as in other countries. So I think this is really a great way to start, because instead of letting them deplete the soils and actually get deeper into the problems, I think I can help them find ways to make it more sustainable and productive, because there's 80% of the population in that same situation. So bringing in easy ways to make the farms more productive, help people survive on what they do, is the best way to make the best type of economy we can have. Right now we are having some issues. The ecological issues are directly linked to the mining, because in my country we have a lot of gold and other minerals, and many more companies are getting involved, and I think that's the only ecological problem we have. But still, farmers are paying the price for the climate change, because the amount of rains we used to have for one whole month, all of that rain can come in just one day, causing inundations and all sorts of problems. So when we look at all of this, I feel like there's a very big need for the country, and I think like it's pretty much everywhere, for people to adapt to these new changes. And I think that by being here, it's already a great start, and I feel like whatever I can do to help the family, and to help also in the future of the country, I think I'll be doing that to myself and my family. And if everyone could do that, the world would be a better place. And when I see all the people and all the organizations that are trying to all join the debate for sustainability, I think that there's a way. This is a good reason to be optimistic and to actually keep doing what we are doing now. And again, thank you for everything you have been doing, and I'm very glad to be part of this. Thank you.
Thank you for what the journey has been so far and where we've come in less than 2 years. We talked about the college producing leaders. Okay. I don't think there's any doubt that we've got 3 leaders here.
That's right.
Now, what we're going to do going forward, we promised to accelerate the program and make it 3 years, because they're away from their family. What that means is this summer, their hands will be in the dirt. They will be working with the CSA farmers, and because of Eleanor's contacts, we have visited already 10 of the most beautiful farms in Oldham County. Every one of those people are not farmers by trade, they're farmers by heart. These are some of the richest people in the state of Kentucky, and every one of them has some sort of sustainable component going on. We've also talked with Mr. Karam here at the park. Every community needs parks and park systems. It's all about the environment. So we are reaching out across the spectrum to give our students a hands-on experience, so when they go back home and somebody's kneeling down in the soil digging the trench, they can say, no, we need to do it this way. When we were out at your farm, you were in pea pots tweezing out all but the healthiest plant. And they saw how the hands-on experience will teach them absolutely what they need to know. So again, we intend on not only the international students, but all students having an opportunity to do internships. And with Eleanor's tenacious help of opening up these farms, we now have some of the most prominent farms in Kentucky saying to us, how come you haven't asked us? Why, when are you coming? So it's just a tremendous upswelling, and it's across the board, whether it's a CSA farm for basically vegetables and little meat, to a CSA meat farm that Austin Musselman has, and everything from horse racing to beef cattle, et cetera, and crossbreeding, and just mind-blowing. We've taken our whole crew of 6 to 8, Bill, myself, and Molly Smith, Director of Development, and Leah, and we have traipsed also to farms and met some just wonderful people that all have an interest in the sustainable movement. So we're very, very excited about where we are. We're off to a wonderful start. As Bill said, we really look at this as a big leg of what our college will be 5 to 10 years from now. So we're very, very excited about that. I would like everybody to partake of the food and drink and visit as long as you want. So we're done unless anybody has anything they want to yell out. David? You're good. Okay. Okay. Thank you, everybody, for coming.